You know, we're all taught to chase success, right? To be ambitious, to climb that ladder as high as it goes. But what if the biggest threat to everything you're building isn't out there in the world? What if it's already in here? What if the one enemy that can tear down all your hard work is already living inside your own head?
And let's be crystal clear about this. We're not talking about healthy confidence or self-belief. That's essential. We're talking about that other part of our ego, the part that gets addicted to the story of success more than the actual substance of it. The part that craves empty flattery over hard truths. That's the part that becomes a truly destructive force in our lives.
So why now? Why is this internal enemy more dangerous in 2026 than ever before? Well, it's because the world we live in is practically designed to feed it. We've built the perfect platforms to amplify our ego, to give it the constant validation it craves, and to just let it run wild. And this, right here, is the modern success trap. Social media literally asks us, "What's on your mind?" and we respond with talk instead of action. We get this little rush from announcing our big plans, and that feeling, it can feel more satisfying than the grinding work itself. We start performing success instead of actually earning it, and our ego just eats up the applause. This all brings us to a really fundamental choice, and it's a question that doesn't just define a career, it defines a life. It's the ultimate fork in the road for anyone who has even a little bit of ambition. The legendary military strategist John Boyd, he laid this choice out for every single person he mentored. He'd say that at some point, you have to decide which path you're on. He called it a roll call for life, a decision that will define everything that comes after.
And these are the two paths. The path of to be is all about the external scorecard. It's about titles, appearances, and making compromises to get ahead. It's fueled by pride, by power, by greed. But the path of to do, that's about the internal scorecard. It's about the work itself. It's driven by a sense of duty, of honor, of purpose. It's the huge difference between simply having authority and actually being an authority.
So, what happens when you pour all your energy into that to be column? What happens when your ego isn't just in the passenger seat, but it's got its hands gripped tight on the steering wheel? Well, it leads to a very special kind of madness. Just think about Howard Hughes for a second. The man had it all. He was a brilliant aviator, a fearless inventor, a Hollywood mogul. On paper, he was the absolute definition of success, a guy who built an entire empire from his own vision and sheer force of will. But inside his own head, a war was raging. His ego, which was supercharged by fame and power, it drove him into the spiral of paranoia and isolation. He'd have these moments of pure strategic genius, and then follow them up with insane, irrational memos about the proper way to handle Kleenex boxes. His ambition built a kingdom, but his ego burned it to the ground from the inside.
And there you have it, straight from the man himself. All that immense wealth, the legendary status, it was a prison. His life is the ultimate proof that the external scorecard is a completely hollow victory if your internal world is just a catastrophe. His ego promised him everything, and in the end, it left him with nothing.
Okay, so if that's the trap, how do we avoid it? How do we chase our ambitions without letting our ego sink the entire ship? The answer, it turns out, lies in restraint and a relentless, almost obsessive focus on the work itself. So what's the antidote? First, it's about being lesser so you can do more. It means clearing the path for others instead of constantly trying to take all the credit. Next, it's choosing purpose over passion. Look, passion is a spark. It's great. But purpose? Purpose is a compass that keeps you going when the feelings fade. Third, you've got to actively seek out the truth, even when it's harsh feedback, because that's where all the real growth happens. And finally, it's just about the work. The work, the work. Because an idea is just talk until you do the hard labor to make it real.
Which brings us right back to that fork in the road. We all face this choice, and not just once in our lives, but every single day, in the thousands of tiny little decisions that we make.
So here it is, the choice we all have to make. The world is going to tempt you constantly to chase status, to build a brand, to be somebody. But the real challenge, and honestly the real reward, is to ignore all that noise, stop moving the goalposts, and just start building. The choice is to do something. So, for 2026 and for all the years after, which will you choose?